Welcome to Learn Hearts of Iron for you with us. In this quite short playthrough, we'll be trying to learn the game together and become more acquainted with how the game works and how it's played overall. It should be noted that neither of us are very good at the game, and this won't be a comprehensive sort of playthrough, let's play guide or whatever. It will contain the basics and some more advanced systems, but yeah, by no means it will contain everything the game has to offer at all. So,
translation, we don't really know what we're doing, so
more or less,
please bear with us.
So, tell me about your experience with the game, because this is really for you and a bit for me as well. I played a bit
for me.
Yeah, because we've been wanting to do this whole sort of France versus Germany thing, but realized that you haven't really played this game at all very much, so this is mostly for you, but figured that maybe some other people will have use of this as well.
Yeah, we're trying to hit two birds with one stone here. Me being one bird, and the other being viewers who share my incompetence, I should say. That sounds better. My experience with this game, is that, well, I mean, you know, it feels so natural to come into a game screen with the map of Europe and lines drawn out. You know, it's the standard Paradox game, and I love World War II history, I should say.
You love World War II. You wish it would come back. I mean, it's been so boring since World War II.
I dream of it every night. No, but it's very fascinating time in world history. It still affects us to this day. But I just haven't really gotten around to it, and I think the main reason is that it's been known to be one of the more complicated Paradox games, mainly because of just the sheer volumes of what you need to do. I mean, you have in previous games you pretty much need to you need to keep a steady eye on your cash inflow and outflow, like what you spend on and stuff like that. And like you have an army of like 10,000. Here you have like divisions of 10,000.
Divisions. You have army corps, you have army groups, army groups, and theaters even. So there's several layers to that.
Yeah, so to me it's just felt like this is more like for those people who liked these sort of games before they were on the computer, like pen and paper games or something. You know, it's so strategically advanced that it's just been a bit too much for me, really, to be honest. So I haven't really...
Well, to be fair, it's been this is one of the, should I say more recent, this is kind of already aged pretty badly, I suppose, in terms of graphics and everything like that. But it's one of those newer Paradox games that I've played the least of, and it's mostly because of the micromanagement. And, I mean, to be fair to myself, I did play Hearts of Iron 1 and 2 quite a lot, but this game took a quite drastic turn with how much micromanagement is involved and everything like that.
What was the difference? Like, you know, why did you play the first two but not this one?
I mean, the one before was more like, I suppose, Europe of the Solus 2, that kind of style. While this one turned into, you know, you have this whole order of battle with, you know, as you said, divisions, army, corps, armies, army groups, etc. You have all of these, and all the systems when it comes to land combat is much more refined and advanced, so it's much harder to learn, I suppose. But yeah, to start the game off, the most basic thing is down at the mini-map sort of thing of the world, with all the terrain map modes. This is, or, you know, different map modes, and it's not different from any other Paradox game, really.
It looks about the same.
My personal default is always political map mode, though. I mean, in this game, the map modes are much more useful, I suppose, especially with things like supply map mode, to see, you know, which regions get supply and how is it, you know, flowing throughout the country, depending on infrastructure. And infrastructure as well is a very important one. VP map mode is extremely important because the way the game works, was trying to say, is that when you try to conquer a nation, you need to take a percentage of victory points in order for the country to break. And that also depends on the national unity of the country. So say Poland, for example, right now has a national unity of 70%. And if we conquer 70% of their important cities, you know, we will enforce, you know, whatever, what's it called, peace, war goal on them, and we will win the war, and they will collapse. So that's why victory points is very important. So for example, Norway is really easy to conquer because all you need to take is Oslo. It's their only victory point for some reason. And if you take Oslo, then Norway will surrender immediately, which is pretty interesting. I don't know why he has put Oslo there. I mean, you figured that at least Bergen or Trondheim or something like that should be, or Narvik, things like that should be important, but apparently it's only Norway.
It's a pretty big country. Oh well.
And then you have air map mode and things like that. It's.
I'm also surprised to see how few victory points the UK has. It's like London, Birmingham, Liverpool, and Newcastle.
That is true. You'd figure that at least maybe Bristol or something like that, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Oxford or whatever should be quite important as well. Anyway, that's enough.
Meanwhile,
that's enough about the victory points thing. Do you have any questions right now?
No, but that was an interesting thing. I didn't really know how that worked because, speaking back a bit about my experience, I remember once when you and I played this game, I don't know, like a year ago or something, and we both played Germany, and like just for fun, we wanted to invade Poland, and I don't think I succeeded with invading Poland. I think the Poles beat me, so that tells a bit about how clueless I am.
Yeah, we will get into more of the combat things too and the invading countries, because this playthrough will be limited to basically we will invade Poland, we'll prepare up to invasion of Poland, and then also invade France and I guess the Low Countries as well. And when we're done that, we will start on the other playthrough with me playing as France versus you playing Germany, which will be very exciting.
Lord.
Very exciting. We can go through the different menus, I suppose. I mean, this is always fun with Paradox games. Menus. The first one is diplomacy, and basically, this game does have one advantage over the other games, is that pretty much every single thing can be AI controlled if you choose to, pick that. So up in the right corner of this sort of diplomacy screen, you will see normal, and if you click one of the buttons, it will turn into AI control, if you want that. Or you can pick something more specific, like I always do. Above the event sort of things here, you can set automate trade, and the AI will automatically find whatever resource you're lacking and then find something that you have surplus of and then trade it. So you don't have to deal with that, which is... I mean, I love that feature myself. I always use it because it's a pain in the ass to have to deal with trade on top of everything else you have to do. Because if you run out of resources, you're pretty much screwed. So that automate trade is my favorite AI control thing there is. But beyond here, you can try to influence other countries. Like, for example, we can try to influence United States of America to not be so aligned to allies, kind of delay them to joining the allies if we want to. So we can click on...
they're not part of the allies yet.
Not yet. So we click on United States either through this whole triangle or in the list. We can then put, for example, influence nation, and it will kind of drift towards us slowly, but it's uncertain whether they will actually join. There is some circumstances where you can get the United States to actually join the allies, and you can also get them to join the Comintern.
Right, but if you're playing like Norway, for example, can you influence the USA to...
No, there's only members of a faction that can influence, as far as I am aware. So the three faction leaders are at the start United Kingdom, Germany, and Soviet Union. And they're also the ones with, I suppose, can invite people to the faction as well. But we are most likely going to invite Italy and Japan. But also things like Hungary and maybe, I think Romania has an event where they join the Axis. And Finland do that as well after the Winter War.
Basically, most neighbors of the Soviet Union are pretty much keen on joining.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. The next screen is production, which you can also AI control if you want to, and if you don't want to deal with it, you can actually just set everything to AI control and then play the time, and the AI will do everything for you. And you just want to watch, that is possible as well. Though that kind of defeats the point of playing the game, I suppose. And here you have, to the right, you have the industrial capacity, which is right now 201. And you have, upgrades, reinforcement, supplies, production, consumer goods, and lend-lease that you have, as needs. And right now, for example, One of the easiest way, unless you want to put it under AI control, is to do you see under upgrades it says need 36.08.
Yes.
Click on that.
Okay, so now I can toggle it. No.
Yeah, it will. When you click on the need thing, it will lock it at exactly what you need, and it won't move.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just click on that whenever the need changes. And the same thing with reinforcement, supplies, production, and consumer goods. But I always like to leave production on it open. So since production is more or less the least important of those there, so it can drain from production when you need to increase supplies momentarily or when you need to reinforce momentarily, and then put it back into production. So production for me is always unlocked in order for it to sway back and forth. And
right. Hang on.
Okay.
So the German state here in 1936, we have $40 on our account.
Yes, 40 money.
Is that it?
Okay. It's abstracted. It's some way that the manpower is very abstracted. For right now, we have 882 manpower. I'm not sure if that's supposed to symbolize 1,000 men per manpower or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so just to add something here, like the need is based on the need. So for example, upgrades. That means that if we have like need 36, then that means it's a rough figure that we still have a lot of units to upgrade, for example. I think it's mainly about army, isn't it?
Yeah, it is your units. For example,
like
in technology, when you unlock certain technologies, then you need, like, if you upgrade infantry to have equipment that is year 1938 or 40, then you of course need to put industrial capacity to produce these guns or whatever that the army needs to get in order to upgrade to those weapons, I suppose.
Yeah. And as far as I know, like supplies can be stockpiled. So even though you exceed the need, so to say, for speed, it's like it saves up on the left there. So
yeah, it goes. Oh, that's a good point. We could go through the resources. So there's 4 main resources, I suppose, and that's energy, metal, rare materials, and crude oil, which are on the left there, right next to the flag. Yes. Or to the left, I mean. And these, if you see the arrow that's on the end that goes into the factory symbol? I mean,
yes.
It symbolizes that these resources go into industrial capacity. That is a resource of its own, you could say. And that in turn, has an arrow to supplies, fuel, and money, even though you don't really get money through this. I don't think so, at least. But the industrial capacity can produce fuel, and it can produce supplies, through the supplies slider here. And it will also produce, your various units and everything like that. So we can go into producing units if you want, unless you have a question.
I have a bit of a question, though.
Yeah, sure.
Industrial capacity, the tutorial explained it as so available industrial capacity, that basically means like you have 201 factories right now. But like what kind of factories are they? Do we know that, or is it just a general?
It's just general
factory.
General factories.
So can we affect it somehow in how much we produce of things?
Yes, we can.
Surely.
We can increase our industrial capacity by building new factories. We can also increase our industrial capacity by various modifiers. Like, for example, if you hold over the industrial capacity thing, it will say, from improved technology plus 10%, silent workforce, and so on, war economy. So various policies in politics, various technology, things like that, will increase your available IC. And right now, you want to keep the wasted IC as 0 all the time, of course.
Why do we have 94 now, then?
It's because when we start, you have only 3 ships right now in the queue. In the production queue right here, if you see that.
Yes, I see it.
So it only requires 14, while we have 94 or something like that we can use to produce units with right now. And it will increase even more as the production as the upgrades get done. I mean, and but it will fluctuate quite a lot.
And if we look at the, I'm still in the production screen, by the way, and if we look at the rare materials and stuff like that, or like the different resources, red numbers, basically you want all the numbers to be green, I suppose.
As far as you can.
It says right now we're using quite a lot of oil, even though sure we have a lot, but we want to get that like fixed, I suppose.
Yeah, but each country has their own, you have resources that they produce, and Germany produces a lot of metal and a lot of energy, but doesn't have as much rare materials or oil needed, which was kind of like one of the reasons that Hitler wanted to take the oil fields down there, Caucasus, and also, in the Middle East, because Germany doesn't really have any oil fields available. But yeah, back to production. Are you ready to go into making divisions and such stuff like that?
Yes, let's go.
So if you click on divisions, here we come to division designer, you could call it. And you have a number of templates over here, like Panzer 1936, Infantry 1936, and so on, that has, set up from the start, like like if you click on Infantry 1936, you will get that it has 3 infantry brigades, and up, allowed is 4 right now. And if we want, we can change that. For example, we can put a Waffen-SS brigade if we want to it. Or we could add
a bit of elite spice.
Yes, or we could add, for example, artillery.
Right, and then save template.
Yes, exactly. And if we add various different sort of, like infantry is one thing, but if we add light armor, for example, you get armored as a bonus. So if you have, it's called a combined arms bonus. So if you have one brigade with infantry, one brigade of armored, one brigade of artillery, and support, you get more in the combined arms bonus right here for combat.
Okay, what's that direct fire?
Direct fire is tank destroyer, for example. And the tank, you see on the colors of the brigades here in the list, they have various colors. So infantry is all the brown, armor is purple, artillery is red, direct fire is blue, and support is green. Military police, I'm not sure how to use, but they are a different color.
I guess the logical explanation would be that they somehow prevent, like, desertion or something like that.
Yeah, that could make sense.
I like how there's, like, softness as a quality here, which has, like, the form of a teddy bear.
Yes.
Unexpectedly.
That's, like, if you see here, there's a bunch of different numbers for various units. And that depends their combat capabilities. So all the units have one soft attack and one hard attack. So for example, infantry has 2 in soft attack and 0 in hard attack, which means that, and they're also 100% soft. So 100% of the different units' soft attack will apply to them. But for light armor, for example, which have 30% softness, will only take 30% of that of the soft attacks and 70% of the hard attacks, I think.
Man, that is pretty complicated.
Yes, but
I guess we'll get into that as we approach the
combat
system.
I've never really been fully into it. I just know that, a different standard infantry brigade most likely has, some machine guns, but mostly rifles and stuff like that, right? And if you come up against, say, a tiger, the tiger, you can't really penetrate a tiger's armor with, a machine gun. Which makes that the machine gun is, a soft attack, and say a cannon is hard attack, if you take it like that. And
I'm
less
with
softness,
you on the basics.
The more armor, I suppose. But but one of the, I guess, I played a bit of an Italy campaign right before this to kind of warm myself up. And during it, I used exclusively infantry. And one of the, my favorite brigade is to have infantry, and then add 1 artillery to it.
Yeah,
which kind of runs it out a bit. And there's also, we'll come to that a bit later, but there's a technology you can unlock, so you can have 5 brigades in each division. And to that I added anti-tank to kind of round it out. So you have, pretty much, you can stand up to most things. Plus they are fairly inexpensive to build, I guess. And one last thing is, as you can click as reserves, which means that when you build a brigade, it will have, I think it is half the strength or something like that of, if you build it as a regular unit.
Yeah.
But when the war starts, you need to mobilize and then reinforce them. But if you click on as reserves, you see the IC cost and the manpower cost is reduced quite a bit. So before the war, it's advised to build them as reserves, which is pretty good.
But how does that work then? So if we go to war and mobilize, we will only mobilize the units we have reserved
Yes, because the sending units are already ready to go.
Okay. So basically you need to recruit quite a lot of reserves, really, to, like, prepare for war.
Yes, well, when the war starts and you have reinforced them after mobilization, they will be as strong as a standing, a regular unit.
Okay.
It's just that you have to do the whole thing about reinforcing and mobilizing at the start. So you're not
Right.
exactly ready to go immediately, but fairly quickly you should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of mobilization, that you can't
Exactly.
really do it, like, instantly with a snap of the finger.
But there's some other things, like they consume less consumer goods, which means you can spend more IC on all the other things. Because right now our consumer goods is at 45, which is quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And now for some reason everything here got set back. Okay, we're ready.